Now we're going to learn to graph lines using an XY table. When we get to use an XY table, the important thing to know is that we get to pick the x's. So we're going to just say, you pick the x's. Now we want to keep it where we can do easy math. So I usually tend to keep it like 0 is a nice easy number to do math with. 1's easy. 2, and then I usually throw in their negatives just so I can get a little bit of all types of numbers on my x-axis. The assignment is just going to say pick at least 3 x values, so you don't have to fill in all 5 blanks on the table, but you certainly can. The more points that you find on the line, just the better line you can draw. But once you know what x values you're going to use, now you're going to plug it into the given equation. It's like our formula. Where we see our x, we're going to plug in our x value that we picked. So it's kind of like our functions in our last thing. We're going to put an empty parentheses where our x is so that we can fill it with the different x values that we need to calculate. So I'm going to go ahead and write out my equation with empty parentheses so that I can then plug in a -2 and a -1 and a 0, 1, and a 2. And then I can go back and you can put that in the calculator. You can mentally do it. 2 times -2 is -4, plus a 1 is a -3. The answer that I get is the answer to y. This whole thing was equal to y, so now that number is my y, and I can plug it into my table. The next one, 2 times -1 is -2, plus 1 is a -1. So that gets to go in my next y place. 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. So that's my answer that goes with 0. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So we use the same equation all the way through. We just changed the x value depending on what we picked in our table, and our answer coordinates with each x value. Now what we have made are ordered pairs. X comma y is an ordered pair. I can plot that on that graph. That says go left 2 and down 3 and put a point. And the next one, -1, -1, says go left 1, down 1 and put a point. 0, 1 says don't go left or right, just go up 1. 1, 3 says go right 1, up 3. And 2, 5 is right 2, up 5. And you notice all of those points line up nicely. And so we can connect them and draw a line. Now it's not just connect the dots. We're not just drawing a segment like this. We're not stopping. Remember from our blanks on the previous page, this is just a small picture of a line that goes on forever. So we can extend this out and draw arrows on the end so that we know this line is just going to keep going forever and ever and ever. So this is a picture of what y equals 2x plus 1 looks like. So we will do it again with a new equation. And I'm going to pick my same x values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So my formula is -3 times x plus 4, but I'm leaving parentheses for my x values so I can plug in the numbers that I picked. One really nice thing on your calculator, once you type this in once, if you hit second enter, it'll retype it on your screen, and all you have to do is change that one number, so you're not retyping the whole thing over and over and over again. So -3 times -2 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So this one will be a 10. -3 times -1 is +3, plus 4 is 7. 0 plus 4 is 4. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, plus 4 is 1. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6, plus 4 is negative 2. Again, if you don't feel comfortable doing that math mentally, just let your calculator do the work. And now we've got ordered pairs. So we will go left 2, up 10. That goes off my graph, and I've got plenty more, so I'm not even going to worry about that one. Let's go left 1, up 7. Let's don't go left or right, just stay on the y-axis, up 4. Right 1, up 1, and right 2, down 2. And those are lining up nicely. So if you ever have a point that's not lining up with the others, then you did some math wrong. So that'll be your clue that you need to go back and recalculate, see where your math is wrong, because these will all make straight lines. All right, our next one, new formula. I'm going to pick my same x's, and we're going to now plug it into x minus 3. So this math won't be too bad. And since I'm not doing any math to the x, I really don't need the parentheses, but I just want to be consistent of always having parentheses around my x. So negative 2 minus 3, that's a negative 5. Negative 1 minus 3 is a negative 4. 0 minus 3 is negative 3, 1 minus 3 is negative 2, and 2 minus 3 is negative 1. And we'll go to our graph and go left 2, down 2, left 1, down 4, just down 3, right and down 2, right 2, and down 1. And then carefully, I'm having to freehand this. That was really not the prettiest, but if you have your ID or a ruler or something that you can use to make these look straighter, that would really be great. Do a couple of more, but for number 4, if you notice, we have a fraction with our x, and that's going to change my thinking when I pick my x's. So if I have a fraction with the x, that means I have to multiply those two, right? And I want to multiply by numbers that will give me nice answers. I don't want to have decimals in my table and then have to go to my graph and figure out how to plot decimals. So when there is a fraction with your x, you want to pick x values that are divisible by the denominator. The denominator is your bottom number, so you want to pick x's that can be divided by 2. Well, good news is we can still always use 0. But this time I don't want to use 1, because if I divide 1 by 2, I get a half, and I don't want fractions or decimals. But 2 is divisible by itself, and negative 2. And the next number that I can divide nicely by 2 is 4. And so I'll use a negative 4. So we do have to adjust our x values that we pick every once in a while if the x has a fraction attached to it. The rest of it is the same. We're going to be using the 3/2 times our value that we picked minus 4. And I'm not going to be able to line these up very nicely, so it's going to spread out here. And if you just picked 3, then you can do a little bit less work here. And probably do want your calculator on this one so that you can make sure that you're doing this math right. So when we plug in negative 4, we are going to get negative 10. And when we plug in -2, we end up with -7. So make sure you're doing these on the calculator and knowing how I'm getting these numbers, that you're typing it in correct on the calculator. When we plug in 0, that one's easy. It's just -4. And then when we plug in 2, we should get -1. And when we plug in 4, we should get 2. So you can double check me on those, and then we'll go to our graph. Left 4 down 10, that's off the graph again, so I'll skip that one. Left 2 down 7. And then just down 4, right 2 down 1, and right 4 up 2. Those are linear, so we should be doing wavy lines again. Just stopping at plotting the points is not enough. We are graphing lines, so make sure you are connecting those. All right, number 5 does not have a fraction with the x, so we are good with picking our regular values that we were doing earlier, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And this one we're just multiplying. There's not any extra math to do here, so -5 times our x every single time. So we can just mentally do this one, I think. -5 times -2, that's 10. -5 times -1 is 5. Anything times 0 is 0. -5 times 1 is -5, and -5 times 2 is -10. So to our graph, -2 tens off the graph, so let's do -1, 5. And then 0, 0 is right in the middle, and 1, -5. And they are linear. And make sure you have arrows on the end. All right, just a couple of more. Number 6 is going to be a good one because it has a fraction with that x, so we want numbers that are divisible by 4. So I'm going to use the denominator, use 0, use the opposite of the denominator, and then we can pick, the next thing that 4 would go into is 8. So we can do -8. And then again, once you have typed this into your calculator, second enter just rewrites what you last typed, and you can just change out that x value. So when we plug in -8, we should get 7. And when we plug in, -4, we should get 6. When we plug in 0, we just get the 5. When we plug in 4, we will get 4. And when we plug in 8, we will get 3. And now we can graph it. So left 8, up 7, left 4, up 6, just up 5, right 4, up 4, and right 8, up 3. And that is number 6. So just one more. Probably a good idea to pause and try it on your own. This one does have a fraction, so we're going to want to pick numbers that are divisible by 2. Remember, your denominator is what you're wanting to use. So we can use -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4. If If you don't want to do negative numbers, just do the 0, 2, and 4. That is all fine. And then we will have our shell that first we'll put in a -4, and that will give us -5. And then, then we'll put in our -2, and that will get us a -4. We'll put in 0, but that just gives us our -3. We'll put in 2, and that gets us a -2. And when we plug in 4, that gets us -1. So there's your table filled out, and we can plot those points left and down. Left 2, down 4, just down 3, right and down, right and down. And that is your picture of 1/2 x minus 3.